So I went and I saw it, and I really liked it. It is a Blade Runner movie. The tweet that I made last night was, I knew it was a true Blade Runner sequel when the dude to my right had started snoring for the third time. It languishes. It like luxuriates in slow moving moments and quiet and open spaces and color. It's gorgeous. It has. It is. You remember, Patrick, when we talked about Nier Automata or Automata, whichever one you prefer? We talked about how it wasn't doing the 101 thing with androids. It was like this second tier of thing where, like, yeah. Are androids people? Yeah. We've had that conversation already. We're gonna do the second level thing. A lot of the big questions of Blade Runner 2049 are that big second thing, or are a big second thing. Lots of stuff there about intimacy, and lots of things there about agency, lots of things there about where meaning comes from, like whether or not what matters to us like it should be based on an objective fact or a subjective fact. I liked it a lot. I think there's some stuff there that I'm really interested to hear from other people about. I really want to hear what sex workers think about this movie, because it does interesting things with it does things with sex work that are not what I expected it to do, because Cyberpunk normally does one thing with sex work, which is like there are sex workers and they are like I don't know, like they're it's always scenery? Just like there's background scenery, they get killed, and they like are a representation of how degrading the future is. And it doesn't really do that. It does a different thing that's really interesting, but I'm holding out my personal read on those key scenes. And there's like a bunch of stuff that I just want to read a lot of different perspectives on. But as a cyberpunk film that's engaged with cyberpunk as a genre, that has a history and has a politics, it does a thing. Like, it is about a thing. It's about a bunch of things, the way that good cyberpunk often is, and it's not just flying cars and oil fields. Do you know what I mean? The thing that I say again and again and again it's not just flying cars without the oil fields, right? It isn't just the neon signs without thinking about where the neon signs come from. It's not just the sci-fi technology without thinking about what that thing reflects, whether that's about the environment or about human relationship with technology or about human relationship with each other or about, politics. Like, it is very much in tune with that part of cyberpunk. It is just gorgeous, and Gosling is really good. All the actors do a great job. Even fucking Jared Leto, who I want to fucking punch in the fucking face. Patrick, you'll never I want to punch him in the fucking face so bad, but that character is supposed to be punchable. He's the fucking worst. Okay. Ugh. You should see it. He's the fucking worst, and also, I don't know. There's stuff people should see it. I need to sit with it. I'm going to see it.
Villeneuve? Is that how you pronounce that guy's last name?
Villeneuve? Yeah.
Either way,
Denis.
Fucking the man. All he does is hit home runs. This motherfucker's going to go make Dune next? Come on.
I'm so excited about that. That's going to be wild. Like,
he can make anything now. Just whatever. Sci-fi renaissance. He's bringing it in Dune, solely himself.
That's like Dune. He's like, I'm going to go to the South Pole now. I'm not using dogs.
Yeah, dog. But he just made a Blade Runner sequel that's like 98 on Rotten Tomatoes. So, like, blank check at this point, right?
The fact that he made it a Blade Runner sequel and it's not like objectively disappointing and just like people are like that. Just making a competent sequel that people aren't angry about was like an extremely high bar. And instead, it seems like he made like as much as you could ask for a sequel that
he got. Here's
the question: as someone that's a fan. Now you've seen both.
Yeah.
A sequel does exist. Are you glad the sequel exists?
100%. 100%.
In the sense that it's additive, or just because you enjoyed being in that world again?
Here is my hope. I can't wait. All right, so Katie McCarthy over at US Gamer just read a piece today that was like, here's how Blade Runner has influenced games for years. I can't wait for this movie to be the next cyberpunk influence on games and on culture at writ large, because what we've seen is like shadows of William Gibson, shadows of Blade Runner, shadows of the original Ghost in the Shell again and again and again and again. And like even like Deus Ex, like Human Revolution, which is a game I liked a lot, didn't go too far off the beaten path in terms of what it was showing. Even the Shadowrun games that have been very good are still very firmly connected to the core questions of what early Cyberpunk works were doing. And then on top of that, there's lots of bad Cyberpunk where it is just a chrome arm that like gives you as also a gun, right? There is also just a lot of bad Cyberpunk, which is just like, what if we fought a bunch of robots? And I'm excited for this to be a match under the stove or, under the pilot light of a new breed of Cyberpunk stuff to come out again. Obviously, to be clear, Cyberpunk as a genre has lots of cool stuff in it that is not that stuff. Like, Cyberpunk got really good. It got really queer. It got, it started to be written by people of color, by women, and that stuff addresses a lot of the early problems with Cyberpunk. So, like, I don't think it's a genre where it's like everything needs to be like William Gibson or bust. But I do think that what I'm hopeful for is that this turns to 5 years from now, we're all playing games that are inspired by the questions that came from this. In the same way that I'm excited for whatever people are inspired by from Nier Automata or from other games that have in the last few years, like leveled up or fuck off me,
wow,
raised the bar in terms of like what they can do when it comes to, a setting that has cyborgs and shit in it. Like if you're going to have cyborgs and androids, like we're so far past our androids real people. Like we're so far past it at this point. It's a solved question. It's way more interesting to think like, okay, androids are real people. Now let's imagine worlds in which we complicate that further. And what do you feel about this? And it's like so good. I don't know. Like I'm not going to get into specifics, but there's like a Voight-Kampff test equivalent in this movie that it goes back to the thing we've said again about the kind of arbitrary nature of power and about how having power is often about having the ability to be arbitrary. And the original Voight-Kampff test, also arbitrary, also bullshit. But this one is like pushed to the limit in a way that's so good. Rob, I really need you to see this. Patrick, try to find a babysitter, maybe, or just get it on Blu-ray. It'll be out on Blu-ray.
Or just
in 4
don't.
Months.
Or just put a crib, right?
Do you think my kid can make it through this movie?
Yeah,
she's one.
Oh, I was more going to suggest like if you put a lid on a crib.
Lid.
Baby's safe, right? Like it's fine.
Crib lid.
I just puncture some holes in that lid.
Yeah,
right. Breathe, baby, breathe.
Yeah, it should be good.
Just drop some tubes in there with milk. Is what babies eat milk and applesauce.
As a fish killer, I don't know if I'm going to necessarily take your advice, Rob.
Didn't. Oh man, I gotta.